My other takeaway is that I got to eat some crow on Brock Purdy, and I've got to do it 7 days after I said I didn't think that in a big moment he would make the big play that you had to have in order to win a big game. He made a lot of big plays. He made a lot of them. He runs for 50 yards in the second half, several third downs. You've got to have it. And Brock Purdy gets out of the pocket. Lions are playing man, and he goes and gets a first down. He's making me look bad. And I think my approach to Brock Purdy was just wrong. I don't necessarily think that my feelings are all incorrect, but I'm going to play a clip from a fantasy football podcast that I do with one of my buddies, Ben, where he pushes back last week on some of my feelings about Brock Purdy. He takes a different approach than how I approach Brock Purdy, obviously, because he's pushing back on me. But I'm just going to play this clip where Ben's pushing back a little bit, and I think it illuminates how we need to view Brock Purdy, because I think the way I was viewing Brock Purdy in general needed to shift, and after this weekend, it has.
I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you that he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I'm not gonna argue that he should be in the NFL or MVP conversation. No, I agree with you there. He's like the 6th, 7th best player on their offense. But in that offense, in that system, is he a system quarterback? Yes. But in that system, he is flawless. I mean, he's phenomenal. He plays that system better than anyone we've ever seen.
Hit the nail on the head there. With Brock Purdy is playing the position in this offense within this system better than anybody Kyle Shanahan has had. And it's an easy comparison comparing him to Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo came up small in that Super Bowl in 2020. They had a 10-point lead, I think with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter in that game, ended up losing. It's easy to say Brock Purdy is significantly better than Jimmy Garoppolo, and he is. I think where I was wrong here, because I was wrong, is that I'm comparing Brock Purdy in my head to some of the other 5 best quarterbacks in football. And he's not one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. Yes, he was in the MVP conversation. Yes, he put up amazing stats on paper this year. He led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. All those things are true. And yet, when I'm looking at Brock Purdy, I'm saying, is he going to compare to Josh Allen? Is he going to compare to Patrick Mahomes? And I'm just looking at it the wrong way. You don't need to compare Brock Purdy to the 3 or 4 or 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL for him to be a massive success. Brock Purdy is in a bubble of his own. He's not a game manager. He is a manager of the Kyle Shanahan offense. How is he in that role? Not how is he compared to Patrick Mahomes? How is he compared to Josh Allen? Because if I compare him to those guys, I am going to come up and say, you know what? Patrick Mahomes is better. You know what? Josh Allen makes more spectacular plays. Brock Purdy does not compare to those elite playmakers, but that does not mean that he's not good enough to get the 49ers where they want to go, as evidenced by the fact that they are in the Super Bowl, which is where they wanted to go. So, I got to eat crow there. I was wrong. Brock Purdy is good enough in the situation that he is in, surrounded by the players he's surrounded by, to get the 49ers where they want to go, to get them to the promised land, which is the Super Bowl. Now they got to go play against Patrick Mahomes. And I think if we approach this Super Bowl as it's Brock Purdy versus Mahomes, we're missing the point. It's not Brock Purdy versus Mahomes. It's the 49ers versus the Chiefs. It's the accumulation of the parts that make the whole. And Brock Purdy is not the tip of the spear for the 49ers. He is a part of the spear that is going to be launched at the Chiefs. And I don't think we should, and I don't think I should have judged Brock Purdy on what he is by himself. Brock Purdy needs to be judged on what he is when you add him to all the pieces that they've got there in San Francisco. When you add him to Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Trent Williams, that offensive line, Christian McCaffrey, that defense, Fred Warner, Charvarius Ward, all these dudes. There's dudes up and down the roster. Yes, Brock Purdy is not Patrick Mahomes. He's not one of the 3 best quarterbacks in football, but that does not mean he's not good enough to get the 49ers where they want to go.